I could give you a million times as a kid and young adult when I felt scared, or at least uneasy, playing in the woods. They were beautiful, endless, and wild, and I spent my entire childhood getting lost out there. Never truly lost, but always wandering deeper than I probably should have, either alone or with friends. You could actually trace our growth in those woods. When we were younger, we stuck close to the trails. As we got older, we ventured farther and farther out. You could see the timeline of our courage in the forts we built, the carvings on tree trunks, and the old beer cans left behind. Each marked a chapter in our childhood. One summer, the last one before adult life really started, my friend and I decided to relive those days. We just graduated high school, and before jobs and responsibilities tied us down, we spent every free moment camping and hiking. That day we wanted something new, somewhere we hadn't been before. So we just walked. It must have been a few miles before we stumbled upon a clearing neither of us recognized. The air felt still, untouched. The kind of place that hadn't seen people in a long time. It was perfect. We set up camp, started a fire, and planned to wait until nightfall to light up, eat, and play Monopoly by the firelight. A little about us. My buddy was a small, wiry guy, goofy as hell, but he came from a long line of foresters. He knew the woods like most people know city streets. He could tell you the name of every plant, tree, or track we passed. He wasn't scared of being out there alone. He even found comfort in it. If I had 10,000 hours in the woods, he had 50,000. Me? I was taller, built stronger, but never brave enough to camp solo. Even as a kid, I couldn't shake that crawling feeling of being watched whenever I was alone in the woods. I told myself it was just paranoia, but that didn't make it easier. By the time the sun went down, the fire was burning low. We were laughing, passing the bong back and forth, when a strong breeze cut through the clearing. It was sudden, cold, and heavy enough to make us both stop mid-sentence. The fire sputtered, dropping to a weak flicker. For a few seconds, there was only the sound of leaves whispering and our breathing. Then we heard it, footsteps. Across the fire, just beyond the ring of light, something was moving. Slow at first, then faster, then slow again. It wasn't 4 legs, it was 2. Whoever or whatever it was seemed to pace back and forth, in the same patch of ground. Then all at once it stopped. The silence was louder than the footsteps. A soft crunch broke it, the sound of something crouching. My friend's hand landed on my shoulder. "Buddy," he whispered, voice trembling. That single word flipped a switch in me. Fear hit like ice water. I could feel the thing watching us, even though I couldn't see it. My friend tossed a handful of leaves into the fire. For a heartbeat, the world went completely dark. Then whoosh, the flames surged back to life, throwing light into the trees. But there was nothing there. We didn't speak. We just kept the fire alive, feeding it every few minutes with leaves and brush, eyes fixed on that same shadowed patch of woods. Whatever it was stayed crouched out there for over an hour, silent, still, patient. No animal would do that. When it finally moved, the leaves crunched softly as it walked away. The air changed with it. The rotten, egg-like smell that had hung around us all night faded with the footsteps. We didn't sleep. We sat there until dawn, whispering once or twice, too scared to turn our backs on the trees. When morning came, we packed up in silence. Neither of us looked back. That was 7 or 8 years ago. My friend, the one who practically grew up in those woods, hasn't camped alone since. And sometimes, when the wind picks up at night, I swear I can still hear those footsteps pacing in the dark. This story may be short, or it may be drawn out. I am recounting these events as I type, as it was honestly one of the most horrifying things I have experienced, and it brings me genuine stress to think about. This happened maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I live in southern West Virginia, and have for my entire life. The woods and mountains surround every direction you look, and nighttime is a darkness that you can never dream of unless experienced. I was with a friend, I'll call him Mark. Mark was at my house one evening, doing the usual things, watching UFC, playing Xbox, etc. It was extremely late when we finally got bored and decided to go for a walk on a nearby trail to smoke a joint. This is not a particularly long trail, but it is very dense in the woods that surround it, and it is easy to get freaked out when thinking of your surroundings. We finally get to about halfway into the trail, about 30 minutes in, where we stop, pack our joint, and stand on the trail to chill and talk. The forest is very alive tonight. There are always noises in the woods, but the amount of animal activity for the time was unsettling. At this point, it was probably past 1 a.m. This was strange and kind of eerie, but not alerting, as any sort of predatory animal in the area may cause a disturbance. We finish smoking and continue our walk when almost immediately the forest falls dead quiet. And as soon as the forest goes quiet, there is a voice. It almost sounds like a mocking, humanoid voice, shaky and uncertain. Almost like an old children's toy, like the ones with the crackly speakers and robotic voice, if you know what I mean. This immediately sets us off. We bolt directly down the opposite length of the trail, but the sound does not gain distance. It doesn't get closer per se, but no matter how far we ran down the trail, this eerie voice remains the same volume, going over and over with no quieting or stopping. At this point, I am convinced that we are in genuine danger, something I have felt very few times. Finally, after sprinting for who knows how long, we exit the trail, grasping for breath and almost at the verge of tears of how frightening this was. We begin to exit the trail, and about 5 minutes from the exit, there is a bone-shaking, heart-stopping, murderous scream from directly behind us. I know what a mountain lion sounds like. This was not an animal. This was not someone playing or watching a movie. This scream sent birds flying from nests and made my heart drop into my stomach. It was the most genuinely depraved and violent scream that I have ever heard. This is a true story that I have only told to maybe 3 people, all of whom seem to brush it off as false. I've never been a person to push for the existence of the paranormal or spiritual, but I genuinely believe I encountered something inhuman in those woods. I'll make a shorter story from a longer one involving sensitive auras, but once I was with a girl on Big Frog Mountain at dusk, miles away from anyone. We decided to walk up a trail when right behind the car, I stepped in a mud puddle with odd-looking light brownish water. I pointed the unusual color to her, then we started walking. Not far up the trail, she started getting scared, and we went back to the car. In the car, we started making out while lying in the front seat, and she had her hand draped out the window. I felt an odd sensation in my back. It had happened before when people were behind me, and told her to pull her hand in, which she did. A few minutes later, I felt the sensation in my back again, but it felt more urgent. I rolled her window up, but being a horny-ass teenager, continued with the make-out session. A few minutes later, it felt like someone had stuck a live wire to my back. I sat up, started the car, and headed back down the mountain. She was obviously confused and asked me what was wrong. I replied that I didn't know, but something was wrong somewhere. We went back to my parents' house and was assured by them the family was okay. Having calmed down some, we ate a little dinner, then started to leave. After I opened the car door for her, I walked around the back of the car. While walking, I glanced at the back of the car and saw handprints the same color of the mysterious mud puddle on the car. The last one was over the back window, and it was obvious someone was watching us while inching their way to the front driver's side window. When I saw the handprints, it was like being hit with a lightning bolt, and I knew what had happened. Cold chills ran all over me. I got her out of the car, and as soon as she saw the prints, she knew too. This story is the absolute truth, so help me, and I will never forget it.